The wreck in the dust. The wind screamed across the desert, carrying fine dust that stung the eyes and filled the lungs. Rylan adjusted his scarf, keeping one hand on the worn handle of his salvage cart. He had been scavenging the outer dunes for hours, searching for anything worth selling: scrap metal, old ship parts, even broken tools. But today, something felt different. The air carried a strange hum, a faint vibration he could feel in his bones. He stopped. There it was again, soft, almost too quiet to notice. A voice. ... help me ... Rylan turned, scanning the empty wasteland. There was nothing but sand, broken rocks, and the remains of an old crash site in the distance. The voice came again, faint but urgent. ... Please ... help me ... His heart skipped. No one had survived that crash. It had happened weeks ago. He had been there on the first day, picking through the wreckage before the sand buried it deeper. But this voice, it was too clear to be an echo. He pushed his cart aside and began walking toward the wreck. The air grew warmer as he climbed over twisted metal and shattered glass panels. The once proud alien ship now looked like a pile of bones, picked clean by the desert dot. Then he saw it half buried under a sheet of scorched plating. A faint blue glow pulsed like a heartbeat. Rylan knelt and brushed away the sand. Beneath it was a small sphere, no bigger than a fist, etched with alien symbols. The voice came again, but now it was sharp and trembling. You ... can hear me? Rylan froze. The voice was coming from the sphere itself. Yes, he said carefully. Who are you? My name is Cerise, the voice replied. My body ... my body is gone. Only my core remains. Please, I don't have much time. He frowned. He had heard of alien consciousness cores, rare tech that stored a mind when the body was destroyed, but they were worth a fortune. Many salvagers would sell one without a second thought, but her voice wasn't cold or mechanical. It sounded ... Alive, afraid. What happened? He asked, picking up the sphere. It was warm, almost like holding a beating heart. Attackers, she said. They boarded my ship. They destroyed my frame. I escaped in this core, but it's unstable. If it shuts down, I die. Rylan's fingers tightened around the sphere. He wasn't a hero. He was a mechanic, scraping by on junk sales. Helping her would bring trouble, especially if someone was still hunting her. Why me? He asked. You were the only one who heard me, Cerise said softly. And because ... you're human. That last part puzzled him, but there was no time to ask. The glow in the sphere flickered, and her voice cracked with static ... Please ... Take me somewhere safe. I can explain. Rylan sighed. Fine, but if this gets me killed, I'll be very upset. He tucked the sphere into his coat and hurried back toward his cart. The wind was picking up, turning the air into a moving wall of dust. Halfway back to his workshop, his wrist scanner beeped. He pulled it up and frowned. An unknown signal was following him, closing in fast. He glanced over his shoulder. Far on the horizon, a dark shape was cutting through the storm. Cerise, he muttered. Did anyone else know you were here? Yes, she said, her voice lower now. And if they catch me, they won't just destroy me. They'll make sure no one ever knows I existed. The shape in the distance grew larger. Rylan cursed under his breath, jumped into his salvager's bike, and powered it up. The engine roared, spitting sand as the bike shot forward toward the safety of his workshop. The signal on his scanner was still following Dot by the time Rylan reached the edge of the scrapyard. Night had fallen. The storm had hidden their trail, but he wasn't convinced they had lost whoever was behind them. Inside his workshop, dim lights flickered over piles of broken engines, rusted tools, and half-finished projects. He set the sphere gently on a padded table, Cerise's voice was weaker now. "This place. Is it yours?" "Yes, my workshop. You'll be safe here," he said. "At least for now." She was quiet for a moment, then asked, "Can you build?" Rylan gave a small laugh. "Lady, if I couldn't build, you'd still be lying in the sand. And ... you can make me a body." He blinked. "That's not how it works. I don't have alien parts. I don't even have the right tools for your kind." "You have hands," she said, voice firm despite its weakness. "And you have time, but not much. If my core loses stability, no parts will matter." Rylan rubbed the back of his neck. He knew this was madness, but there was something in her tone, a mix of strength and desperation, that he couldn't ignore. He sighed again. "All right, Cerise, let's see if we can give you a second chance." As he connected his diagnostic cables to the sphere, his scanner pinned again. The same unknown signal. Closer. Whoever was looking for her had found them. Asterisk, the broken and the band. The workshop felt too quiet. Outside, the desert storm rattled the walls, but inside, every sound seemed sharp. Rylan's tools clinking, the faint hum from Cerise's core, his own slow breathing. He had locked the door, double-bolted the shutters, and armed the perimeter sensors. Still, the signal tracker on his desk kept flashing red every few minutes. Whoever was after Cerise wasn't giving up. "Your core structure is strange," Rylan muttered, running his scanner over her sphere again. "It's banned tech." Cerise didn't deny it. "My people call it the mind seed. It's forbidden for humans to even touch it. Anyone caught will be executed." Rylan stopped. "So you're telling me that by just holding you, I've already signed my death papers?" "Yes," she said simply. "But if you build me a frame, I can protect us both." He gave a humorless laugh. "You've got a lot of confidence for someone who's currently ... a ball." Her voice didn't waver. "I wasn't always like this. I was a fleet guardian." Rylan leaned back, staring at her. He had heard of them, elite soldiers of the Threxian Concord, armed with both physical strength and neural command systems. If she was telling the truth, she wasn't just valuable. She was dangerous. That explained why someone was chasing her so hard. He moved through the workshop, searching the junk piles. Old human combat servos, broken drone arms, dented armor plating. Nothing matched alien designs. He'd have to merge technology that had never been meant to work together. It would be ugly. It might not even work. But it was the only chance she had. He slid a heavy crate onto the workbench and began sorting through parts. Cerise kept talking, guiding him on what she needed: joint stabilizers, sensory nodes, energy conduits. He didn't have half of it. Then her voice flickered again, breaking into static. Losing connection. "Hey, stay with me," Raylan said quickly, checking her readout. Her energy levels were dropping. "I need a power cell that's not human-made," she whispered. "Your cells will burn me out." Rylan sighed. "Great. That means I'll have to buy one from the docks. And guess what? That place is full of people who would sell both of us for a handful of credits." Before she could answer, the workshop alarm screamed. A sharp, high-pitched wail that meant only one thing: breach attempt. Rylan snatched his plasma wrench and moved to the door. Outside, shadows shifted between the metal piles. "Stay quiet," he told Cerise, killing her external speaker. The sound of metal feet crunched closer. Whoever they weren't bothering to hide now. He caught a glimpse of one tall, with a helmet shaped like an insect's head, glowing red eyes scanning the dark. He didn't wait for them to get closer. With a sharp twist of his wrist, he activated a magnetic pulse from his wrench. The nearest intruder's weapon snapped out of their hands and clanged to the ground. They retreated instantly, fading into the shadows. Rylan knew they'd be back. Tonight wasn't a robbery. It was a test. Back inside, he reactivated Cerese's voice. "They found us," he said. "They'll keep coming," she replied calmly. "And next time, they won't test you. They'll kill you." Rylan sat heavily in his chair. "Then we build faster." He brought out the oldest, most illegal blueprints. He owned schematics for a hybrid combat frame he had designed years ago, but never dared to build. If it worked, it would keep her alive. If it failed, it would burn out her core instantly. Looked at the sphere glowing faintly on the table. "You ready to gamble your life?" Cerese's voice was steady. "I already did. When I called you." The first frame morning came quietly, but Rylan didn't sleep. The workshop was a mess. Wires, broken plating, and toolboxes scattered across the floor. He sat at the bench with dark circles under his eyes, staring at the crude frame he had. Started dot, it looked nothing like an alien body. One arm was a human combat limb from an old warbot. The other was a sleek but cracked exolimb salvaged from a crashed transport. The torso was made from patched starship hull panels, dented but strong. "It's ugly," Rylan said, rubbing his face. "It's mine," Cerese replied through the speaker, her voice calm. "And it will keep me alive." Her words gave him a strange feeling, a weight in his chest he didn't want to admit was pride. Dot as he worked. Cerese guided him through connecting alien neural interfaces. It was delicate work. One wrong connection could fry her core. "Not that wire," she said. Quickly. "I know," Rylan muttered, but his hand froze. "How do you know so much about mechanical systems?" "I told you I was a fleet guardian," she answered. "I've built more weapons than you've built engines." He smirked. "Guess we're both stubborn about our work." Her voice softened. "Stubbornness is the only reason I'm still speaking to you now." By midday, the skeletal frame could stand barely. The joints groaned, the servos whined, but it was progress. Then his wrist scanner beeped again, an incoming signal. This one wasn't from the desert. It was inside the scrapyard. "Someone's here," Rylan said, grabbing his plasma wrench. Dot through the cracked shutters. He saw a tall figure in a ragged coat moving between the piles of scrap. Not the insect helmet soldiers from before this. One walked slow, confident, like they had all the time in the world. Dot. The figure stopped at the workshop door. "Rylan Var?" The voice was smooth, almost friendly. "You have something that belongs to my employer." "Not interested," Rylan replied without opening the door. "That wasn't a question," the voice said. Cerese's voice came through the comb, sharp and urgent. "That's not a mercenary. That's a Concord retrieval agent. If he gets my core, he'll erase me permanently." Rylan swore under his breath. "Guess we speed things up." He worked faster, sweat dripping down his forehead. He connected the final neural cable into the chest cavity and slid Cerese's sphere inside. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the frame twitched. Once, twice. The arm slammed down on the table, denting the metal. The eyes' two small lenses flickered to life with a dim blue glow. "I can feel my limbs," Cerese said, her voice almost breathless. The workshop door rattled as the retrieval agent began to force it open. "Bad timing," Rylan muttered. "Can you walk?" "Not yet," Cerese said, "but I can stand." The frame rose unsteadily, towering over Rylan. The sound of its servos filled the room. A mechanical heartbeat. The door burst open. The retrieval agent stepped inside, one hand holding a small silver device. "That's Concord property," the agent said, pointing at Cerese. "Step away and I'll let you live." Raylan didn't move. "She's not property." The agent smiled coldly. "Everything is property to someone." Before Rylan could answer, Cerese moved awkward but fast. Enough to slam her mechanical fist onto the workbench, sending tools flying. The agent's eyes narrowed. So the human can build. Interesting. That will make dismantling you more painful. Asterisk the power she needs. A high-pitched whine tore through the workshop. Cerise's frame froze, her limbs twitching uncontrollably as sparks jumped from the joints. The retrieval agent's device glowed brighter, sending waves of energy that made Ryland's teeth ache. "Stop!" Ryland shouted, grabbing a heavy wrench. The agent didn't even flinch until Ryland hurled the wrench at the device. It hit with a loud crack, the metal casing denting. The whine cut off instantly. Cerise stumbled forward, one leg locking, but the other pushing hard enough to knock the agent back into a pile of scrap. "Move!" Ryland yelled, pulling her toward the side exit. They ran well. Ryland ran and Cerise clanked through the scrapyard's narrow corridors until they reached his salvage bike. They didn't stop until the bike's engine was roaring across the open desert. Ryland glanced over his shoulder. "The agent wasn't chasing yet. We can't fight them again," Cerise said, her voice still shaky. "I need a real power source. That frame won't hold together without it." "What kind of power source?" Ryland asked, though he already feared the answer. "A fusion shard," she said. "Not human-made, alien tech. You'll only find one in the black market docks." Ryland gritted his teeth. "You know those docks are crawling with bounty hunters, right?" "Then don't get caught," she replied. By nightfall, they reached the docks, a floating platform built into the side of a canyon wall, lit with red and gold neon signs in dozens of languages. The air smelled of fuel, fried food, and trouble. Ryland pulled his hood low and wheeled Cerise, now sitting on a hover dolly, into the main market. Traders shouted over each other, selling everything from ship parts to stolen weapons. He found the shard seller in a cramped stall guarded by two towering brutes. The old alien behind the counter smiled with too many teeth. "Fusion shard?" The alien said. "Rare, expensive, very illegal for humans to buy." "I'm not buying for me," Ryland said, sliding a pouch of credits across the counter. "Just need it quick." The alien's eyes narrowed. "Who's it for?" "None of your business," Ryland said flatly. The alien took the credits, but moved slowly, pulling out a small case. Inside, the shard pulsed with soft white light. Ryland reached for it. "Raylan Var." A voice boomed behind him. He spun around. Bounty hunters. 3 of them, all wearing mismatched armor and grinning like they just found a jackpot. "Word is," the leader said, "you've got something very shiny that doesn't belong to you." His eyes slid to Cerise on the dolly. Or someone. Ryland grabbed the shard and bolted, pushing Cerise through the crowded dock as shouts erupted behind them. Blaster bolts tore through stalls, smashing glass and metal. Ryland ducked behind a stack of crates, his heart pounding. "You have 5 seconds. Before they surround us," Cerise warned. He looked at her frame, barely holding together. "Then you'd better be ready to walk." He jammed the shard into the frame's power slot. The entire structure hummed, the lights in her eyes flaring bright. The nearest bounty hunter rounded the corner, just in time to get hit by Cerise's mechanical fist, sending him sprawling. They fought their way back to the bike, Cerise now moving faster, her limbs steady with the shard's energy dot as they sped out of the docks. The bounty hunters shouted after them, but none followed. "They'll tell the retrieval." "Agent, where we're going," Cerise said grimly. Ryland smirked. "Let them. By the time they find us, you'll be ready for them." The awakening the desert night was cold, the stars sharp against the black sky. Ryland's bike tore across the dunes, its engine howling. Behind him, the canyon lights of the black market docks faded into the distance. Cerise sat upright now, her frame moving smoothly with the shard's power. The mismatched limbs still looked awkward, but the glow in her eyes burned brighter than before. "How does it feel?" Rylan asked, keeping his eyes on the horizon. Like I'm breathing again, she said quietly. And like I could crush steel in my hands. They reached the workshop just before dawn. Rylan parked the bike and scanned the area no signals. Nearby, inside, he began reinforcing the frame, adding armor plates and connecting weapon mounts. Cerise tested each limb, moving with more confidence now. Your work is different, she said. Human designs are rough, but strong. You don't build for beauty. You build for survival. Rylan smirked. Ugly or not, it'll keep you standing. Before he could say more, the alarm screamed again. This time, it wasn't just one or two intruders, multiple signals surrounded. The workshop. The retrieval agent stepped through the front door without knocking, flanked by 4 armored enforcers. End of the road, mechanic, the agent said. Hand over the core, and I'll spare your life. Rylan stood in front of Cerise. She's not going anywhere with you. The agent tilted his head. You built her a body. Impressive. But she belongs to the Concord. She's dangerous, and you have no idea what she's carrying inside that core. Cerise stepped forward, the floor shaking under her heavy frame. I know exactly what I'm carrying, she said. And I know you're afraid of it. The first enforcer lunged at her, swinging an energy blade. She caught his wrist mid-swing and crushed the weapon's hilt like paper. A second enforcer fired a blaster. Rylan ducked as the bolt sizzled past, hitting the wall. Stay behind me, Cerise shouted, her mechanical arm smashing into the attacker's chest plate. Rylan grabbed his plasma wrench, blocking another strike, aimed for Cerise's back. Together, they moved like they'd fought side by side for years. She took the heavy hits. He struck fast and precise. Within minutes, 3 enforcers were down, weapons scattered. The last one fled into the desert. The retrieval agent didn't move during the fight. He simply watched, calm and cold. You're stronger than I expected, he said to Cerise. But strength won't save you. The Concord doesn't forgive. Then, they can come and try, she replied. The agent stepped back into the shadows, disappearing without a sound. Rylan locked the doors again, his breathing heavy. You know he'll be back, he said. Yes, Cerise answered, her voice steady. Which is why we can't stay here. She looked at him with those glowing eyes. You built me a body. Now let's use it to take back my life. Rylan hesitated, then gave a small nod. All right, but wherever we're going, I'm bringing my tools. The choice. The beacon's red light cut through the night sky, pulsing like a heartbeat. Rylan stood in the workshop doorway, his jaw tight. He'd seen beacons like that before. They didn't just call soldiers. They called warships. They'll be here in less than an hour, Cerise said, her voice steady but low. And this time, they won't send a small team. They'll level this place. Rylan turned to her. You said they want to erase you. Why? What's inside that core that scares them so much? She hesitated. The glow in her eyes dimmed for a moment. The Concord destroyed a colony, my colony. They blamed it on pirates. But I have the proof stored in me, the orders, the recordings, the names. If I survive, their empire burns. Rylan's mind raced. Keeping her here meant death. Giving her to them meant betrayal. Either way, his quiet life as a junk mechanic was gone forever. You could run without me, he said. Your frame's strong enough now. I could, she agreed. But I wouldn't have made it this far without you. Her mechanical hand rested gently on his shoulder. I don't just want to survive, Rylan. I want to fight back. And I can't do it alone. He looked around the workshop one last time. Every dented tool, every half-built machine. This place had been his whole life. But it was also a cage. Finally, he grabbed his tool satchel and slung it over his shoulder. All right, we run. But If we're doing this, we're doing it my way. A faint smile touched her lips. Your way has kept me alive so far. They slipped out the back, moving fast through the scrapyard toward the hidden launch pad Rylan had built years ago for emergencies. The small shuttle was old, patched together from scavenged parts, just like Cerise's frame, but it was fast enough to get them off Dash World Dot. As they boarded, the ground shook. A massive Concorde dropship appeared over the horizon, its floodlights sweeping across the desert. Time to go, Rylan said, strapping into the pilot's seat. The engines roared to life, lifting them into the starry sky. Below, the workshop exploded in a flash of fire as Concorde forces landed too late. Inside the shuttle, Cerise sat across from him, her glowing eyes watching the stars streak past. You didn't have to do this, she said softly. Raylan glanced at her. Yeah, I did. You're not just a core in a frame anymore. You're you, and you're mine to protect. She looked away, but he saw the small smile she tried to hide. Then I guess we protect each other. As the shuttle disappeared into deep space, the beacon's light faded behind them. Ahead lay danger, war, and a galaxy that didn't want them alive. But for the first time in years, Rylan felt alive too. Asterisk.